Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Career Pathway Mapping, which is presented by ibpsa-usa's EPSI committee. My name is Rashmi Baliga, and I'm the current Vice Chair of EPSI, and I'll be hosting today's panel discussion. While we wait for everyone to settle in, I'm going to share a quick rundown of how the webinar is going to work. Can someone confirm that you can see my screen? Okay, great. So today's session will be recorded and available through ibpsa-usa's YouTube channel. If you have any issues hearing the presentation, please try calling in by phone instead of using computer audio. This is a Zoom webinar, so you can participate by posting questions and comments in the Q&A tab at the bottom. Questions will be viewable by all attendees, and there's an option to submit anonymously if you prefer to do so. So let's get started. For those who don't know us, we are the EPSI or Emerging Professionals and Students of ibpsa. EPSI is a peer group in ibpsa USA aimed at providing resources and networking opportunities for professionals with less than 5 years of experience in the building performance industry. We connect students and early career professionals with resources, networking opportunities, and leadership insights to help you grow in your career. If you're interested in joining EPSI, please scan the QR code to join. We're always looking for more energy enthusiasts to join and add to the discussion. Among other activities, we host an annual career advancement webinar where we invite industry professionals to share their insights. And these are the links over here to some of our older webinar recordings that you can check out. Today is going to be the 5th installment of our career advancement webinar series. And today our panelists will share what they have encountered in their diverse career pathways. So welcome to Career Pathway Mapping. Let's start with a round of introductions. Kylene, would you like to go first?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Kylene Rockwell, and I am a senior building performance analyst at Interface Engineering, and I've been doing building analysis for about 12 years now.
Thank you. Matthew, would you like to go next?
Yes, thank you. I'm Matthew Duffy. I'm a VP of IESVE at Integrated Environmental Solutions, and I've been in building performance and simulation for 17 and a half years.
Great, thanks. Last but not the least, Subaya, would you like to introduce yourself?
Not last but not least, but also the oldest, it seems like. Hello, everyone. My name is Sumaya Theron. I'm the founder of Avant-Garde Sustainable Solution. I come with 22 plus years of experience in the industry in architecture, mechanical engineering, sustainability, and energy analysis. It's nice to see everyone here.
Thank you all. Let's get started with the discussion. I'm going to ask each of our wonderful panelists a few questions about our journeys just for the audience. If you also have questions for them, as I mentioned before, please feel free to drop them in the chat and we will have a Q&A session at the end to discuss those. So Matthew, could you please share with us what brought you to the world of simulation software and modeling?
Yes, I didn't really take a traditional approach after high school. I went and played amateur ice hockey for 2 years and junior hockey in Minnesota. And during this time, I read a lot of books, I listened to a lot of music, and one of my friend's brothers, he was like the cool Gen X guy. He was rumored to have partied with Dave Matthews when he was in college in Tulane. Anyway, he recommended the book Natural Capitalism. And I'm sure some of you have also read that book, and it was extremely eye-opening for me reading that book and seeing that the the building sector is responsible for approximately 40% of the energy consumption. And then I went into mechanical engineering and I specialized in heat transfer, thermo, HVAC, and energy systems, hoping to go into this industry and help solve this problem for our society and the world. So I've been in this industry ever since.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that. I thought that you've held various types of roles in your career. That includes maintaining software solutions, building performance consulting, and now business development and marketing. Could you share with us what you liked about each of these roles and what led you to finally working in your current role?
Yes, I'm, you know, very fortunate to experience many different roles from technical support, development, consulting, outreach, and a building performance engineer, and um, yeah, and I've done that over 3 different companies. I've had a 5-year stint at a company, then another 5-year stint, then I've been at IES for 7 years, and I think I've like naturally evolved with the different roles, the teams, the tasks involved in building performance and modeling. I naturally want to get a taste at these different roles. And now I like that every day is different. I get to deal with a lot of people. I get to help a lot of people, and I get to instruct and teach.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, Matthew. So, Maya, we would like to hear from you next about your career journey. So, what motivated you to start your own firm, and what was your journey there?
So after 20 years, or after more than 20 years working in sustainability and green buildings, I reached to a point where I wanted full creative freedom to choose projects that truly aligned with my values and really have measurable impact. So I started the company. Starting the company was my way to do that, and I just wanted more freedom and flexibility, basically. It gave me the space to focus on decarbonization and resilience in a way that's practical, human-centered, and really collaborative. And it was also a great way to mentor emerging professionals and support women in sustainability field. I have been a mentor with different groups and organizations, and that does take a lot of time. So being on my own gave me the freedom to have my own schedule, basically, and pick my own projects.
Perfect. I know your career spans like from your LinkedIn profile, Jordan, South Africa, the United States. Could you share with us some challenges you encountered when you started your practice in each new country, and then tips for navigating changes like this mid-career?
Yeah. So I moved a lot and my career has changed a lot. So it did evolve, from being an architect to being a sustainability consultant and energy analyst, and then doing sustainability full time. So each move came with its own set of challenges. In Jordan, in my early career, it was cultural barriers and some gender bias that I experienced, but it taught me a lot to be resilient. In South Africa, it was challenging to understand the infrastructure, the priorities of the country. There's a lot of massive transformation was happening at the time that I was there, so that was really a challenge. And then when I moved to the United States, it was rebuilding my credibility again and developing my new networks. It's like starting from scratch every time. And I do have the knowledge, but not the connections. And it feels every time you need to um, prove yourself in a competitive market. So each move helped me with just being curious and having a lot of humility, asking questions. No question is a stupid question. Always ask. If you have a question, just ask. Listening a lot and learning how can I add value to each local place I was in through my global experience. And reinventing yourself mid-career can be tough and challenging because not everyone had my specific journey. So there was a lot of research to figure things out on my own. And I think that's why I like to mentor a lot, because if I can make it easier and shorter for someone else, I'm definitely willing to do that. But at the same time, it was really incredibly rewarding. And you grow in ways that you never expected.
Wow, that was very insightful. Thank you for sharing that. And also thank you for mentoring. That's really good to hear. Um, Kylene, for your profile, I noticed that you have various credentials, including BE, MPE, Lead AP, and PE. We'd love to hear some tips of when and why you recommended, when or why you decided to pursue these credentials and what you'd recommend for our participants. Also, like maybe if you could shed some insight on which of these you found most useful in your career, that would be helpful too.
Yeah, definitely. I will also add, I am also proud of my AIA credential. So that means I am a licensed architect. Uh, and I guess for my position as a building performance analyst, I think that PE and AIA are the ones to strive to get if possible. And there are definitely a lot of legitimate reasons for why you may not be able to do so, and that it might be where or what you studied and if the program was accredited or not, even financially being in a position to take off the time to study and take the tests. They are expensive. And so for me, like I had to jump through hoops to get my PE license. My undergraduate degree is a accredited architecture degree, but then my graduate degree is a master's in engineering, which apparently does not, like, it means you can't take the FE. Like it's not accredited. They only accredit, I guess, undergrad degrees in America. So it made my path, it was easy to take the AIA exams, but it was difficult to take the PE exams. I applied in Illinois to see if they would let me sit for the FE. They said no. And then I applied in Colorado to see if they would let me take the FE, and they said yes. But it was a very involved process. Like I had to gather transcripts, get professional references, show proof of work. So it's tough any way you go. But in terms of, I think for maybe like university students, what's a feasible credential is the lead green associate. I think I did that when I was still in college. And then if you do have the opportunity to take the FE, I think a lot more like undergraduate programs now are trying to get their seniors to take the FE during college. Definitely do that. You lose a lot of that kind of general engineering know-how once you start working in the real world. And then I think I have lead AP and ASHRAE BEMP. BEMP is the Building Energy Modeling Professional credential. And I would say those are easier to take once you're working in the industry a little bit longer, like once you have a couple of lead projects under your belt. I think for the BEMP, I would say maybe like around 3 years worth of like energy modeling experience is like a good sweet spot to take the test without having to study too much to do so. So I think those are the ones that I would recommend to take a little bit, like, a few years into your career.
Thanks for sharing that. So follow-up question to that. You said the AIA and PE were like the most important or like the most relevant ones. How do they contribute to like the types of projects you're working on, or what kind of edge do they provide in terms of the type of work you can get? Sharing.
Yeah, so there are certain project locations and jurisdictions that do require you to have something like the BEMP credential to submit like a utility incentive model or things like that. So, I mean, you should look at maybe where your projects are and if they do have certain credentials you need to successfully submit projects. I think even some code projects would require certain credentials. Trying to think. But then in terms of having PE and AIA, I feel like for me, so if I'm speaking with an architect that we're working with doing their energy modeling, and I'm talking about building envelope and thermal designs, it definitely kind of helps put a little like feather in your cap to be like, I'm also an architect, so you should really be listening to me when I'm telling you you need to, put this amount of insulation on your roof and try not to put that much glazing on your design. I think it gives a little bit, it makes them feel like, I'm maybe trying to work with them as an architect to get like design goals and energy performance goals.
Thanks for sharing that. I'm sure our attendees really appreciate these tips and just hearing about which credentials have been useful. I'm also, I wonder if you'd be willing to share like how you got involved volunteering with USGBC and ibpsa USA, and just share a little bit about how volunteering has contributed to your work and opportunities in the professional field.
Yeah, I definitely started to volunteer with these organizations early on in my career. I feel like it seemed like earlier in my career that I had the bandwidth and time to do so. Now that I actually have like kids, I can definitely appreciate that that time has disappeared a bit and I'm pulling back on the volunteering. But it is, I think, important to know when to say no to these kind of volunteering opportunities as well. So I think I've been volunteering with ibpsa for maybe like 7-ish years, and I've been part of various committees. I am on the CPA committee, which was formerly the DEI committee, communications, and then EPSI. I think I was also on like the year one when EPSI was established, kind of helping as an advisor. And then I've also served on the board of ibpsa USA. But all of it, I would say, try to, if you're going to volunteer for committees, try to find a topic that interests you. Like I am very invested in like gender equality, racial equality. So that drove me to CPA. And I think the benefits are definitely out there. Like you start to, I think maybe a few of us on the call might be introverted engineers, and to be in a committee where you're seeing people on a monthly basis, getting to know them by name, and then meeting them at conferences in person, like you already have like a relationship to build on for networking, and not being like the only person in the room, you can start to grow that network. And then USGBC, I was on the Energy and Atmosphere Technical Advisory Group for about 3 years, and it was like relatively early in my career, I think, to be on that tag. And like that was really exposing me to, industry experts who have been in the field for 20 plus years, and just being in the same room as them and, listening to what they have to say. We did help with the LEED version 5 structure, so don't blame me for anything you see there. But just being, in a room with that type of knowledge and experience accelerates your own knowledge and experience. So it definitely, I think, gives you a leg up for your professional career.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, definitely encourage everyone attending to volunteer in an organization that seems like a good fit for your personal interests and ambitions. It's as having personally volunteered as well with the ibpsa, it's very rewarding and also helps you meet amazing people in the process. So thank you, Karine. Sumaya, I'm going to direct another question at you. I noticed you've received multiple awards and nominations in sustainability and the green building space. So I just wanted to hear your insights on like how that came about, what the nomination, if we have attendees who are aspiring to get such awards in the future, what tips you have to share with them, and also how that has contributed to your practice and what benefits there are for pursuing that.
Yeah, so awards like Crane's Notable Leaders in Sustainability, and the other one is Engineered Systems 20 to Watch Women in HVAC, definitely helped raise visibility and credibility. It's not just for me, but also for the company. And these awards led to new partnerships and opened doors for collaborations with different groups, which I really appreciated. And my advice is when you do meaningful, consistent work, recognition does follow naturally. And when it does, use this platform that you receive to spotlight your team, elevate others that are coming behind you. So basically, focus on chasing impact, and the recognition will follow. Another advice I would give is don't be shy to nominate yourself. I nominate people all the time. And one of these awards, I actually nominated myself and I got it. And be proud of the work you do. And it's perfectly fine to nominate yourself as one.
That's great advice. Speaking of advice, I would like to ask Matthew, like if someone's looking to switch, like you switched from a consulting role to a very software focused organization, and you're more like teaching people how to use these skills, etc. So for someone looking to make a similar switch, what kind of upskilling or certifications or just in general training would you recommend people pursue to make that switch?
Yeah, and I would first like to say I'm extremely humbled to be on a panel with Kylene and Sumaya. I didn't know all of your backgrounds and the wealth of knowledge and the volunteering that both of you went through. So that is great. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, when I switched from the more of the consulting role to the software role, I think one of um, the the major skills that needed to be developed were the soft skills, because essentially almost every person in that on my team that I work with are very service forward. And actually, when I was working at my previous job at the large MEP company, um, I used to moonlight down the street. I had a second job at a winery here in Wisconsin, and that taught me a lot about the service industry. Um, kind of reading people, developing more empathy, strength, and storytelling as well, because the science communication and science storytelling became extremely important. And yeah, I would not have thought that, being a wine steward would really help develop that, because you're talking about the grapes and the soil and the terroir and the different flavors of the wine, and you're telling a story of everything goes into that, and that translated actually really nicely to the current role here in software, not only the service side, but also the science communication side as well. So wait, if I may add one other thing, it still is very helpful to get um, other other accreditations or behind your name, kind of like Eileen is doing. She has the AIA and PE. Obviously, a BEMP, Building Energy Modeling Professional, is extremely valuable in our industry as well.
Okay, so even with the software focus of VE, there's still a very big focus on knowing the science behind it. And a skill you greatly value is how to tell that technical story to people who may not be speaking the same language. So, like if I were to go into the winery you were working at, and I know nothing about grapes or wine, how can you communicate that to me without losing my interest or focus? So it's the same type of skill set that is applicable even in our industry, whether the application is consulting or software. It's a skill that translates across professions. And you can definitely, if you're a good storyteller and a good communicator, you can explain the story of sustainability well to a variety of different applications and audiences, including, teaching people about wine, which is great.
Yeah, Rashmi, you summarized that extremely well. And to step back, yes, I want to be able to go anywhere and talk to anyone about what I do in a way that is, palatable for them to comprehend and understand. Even if it's, some towny bar in rural Wisconsin over here, I want them to be able to understand what I do and why I do and why it is important to everyone. So how do we communicate that? Yeah. Thank you for summarizing that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That's really, that resonates very well with me, because I do believe that, just talking about sustainability to like-minded professionals who already care about sustainability is not the biggest impact. The biggest impact is being able to share our skills and develop our career and communicate that with people who are not aware about what we're doing. So it's good to know that that type of skill set is valued if we're switching to a company such as yours. Um, Okay, so another question, I guess I will direct this one at Kylene. So what are the different, like, given your background, which is a mix of architecture and engineering, do you have like a favorite analysis that you would pick that you worked on that kind of challenged and covered like all of the knowledge you have? And I'm sure you worked on a variety of different types of consulting over the 12 years, and just curious to hear about an example that was, just giving our attendees an idea of what type of analysis could they be doing if they do a job such as yours.
Yeah. So I feel like when people say we're energy modelers, it really like you wear a lot of different hats when you do that. Right, there's energy modeling, there's PV analysis. I've been looking into like microgrid studies, looking at PV and battery storage. And then I think there's some of like the like maybe softer analysis, but I mean, it's equally as technical, which would be like your daylight analysis and CFD modeling. So there's a lot of things out there, and I feel like most modelers at least do multiple skill sets. Um, my favorite skill set, I think, is the ones that kind of tend to be more graphical. So um, it's maybe that early phase energy modeling. I feel like we can, start to look at climate analysis and passive design strategies in that early phase and inform design with cooler graphics. And then daylight analysis is also a favorite of mine. And I would say like for daylight analysis, there's kind of the check mark of maybe doing your lead daylight modeling. But then the part that I really enjoy is more of the storytelling aspect. So like we just had a campus dining hall that was looking at daylight analysis. And so they weren't eligible for the lead credit for that building, but we specifically looked at the dining hall and were telling the story of, during your fall semester at lunch and dinner, these seats are not going to be where you want to put students, and just getting a sense of the space during the hours of operation and like what the visual comfort would be for that space was. I think that's one of my favorite parts of the analysis is like crafting the story to the client and to the project. Then maybe more, I think you asked like about different projects, but I've also, in my career now, I've worked on the same project for two different companies. So like 10 years ago, I was involved with the master planning of a corporate campus in Baltimore. And we were doing kind of looking at central plant options for these 5 buildings and looking at like lake heat rejection, and then definitely investigating CHP, combined heat and power, which 10 years ago, I feel like we had a lot of projects like that were really focused on energy cost savings, and that type of technology was a way to accomplish that on a large campus scale utility basis. And then fast forward 10 years, I'm working on like one of those buildings on that campus that's striving to go net zero energy. They're actually in construction right now. I think it's Under Armour's corporate headquarters. I'm allowed to say that now. 10 years ago, I don't think we could. But the project has changed so much in 10 years. Like, well, it's just one building now. I don't think they're doing the whole campus. They're striving, we're all electric. We're going for PV to accomplish that. And so, just within the last decade, you can start to see that priorities have shifted for the clients that are trying to push the envelope towards like all electric and decarbonization now. So that's pretty cool to see as you keep working in the industry.
Wow, yeah, that must be very rewarding to see that type of progression and to feel like you've made an impact, not just at one point in that campus/buildings journey, but at multiple points.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it is definitely true that priorities have shifted, which is why even though early career professionals who are joining us today to like hear your insights feel like they have a lot to learn, I'm sure we can all agree that throughout our careers, we always constantly have a lot to learn because of, changing how things have to be addressed. Even if the core skills remain the same, we have to adapt how we apply them to various different applications with shifting priorities. So thank you for sharing that. I will now ask a question for all 3 of you, which I hope you can take turns answering. And the question is, what types of roles does your organization hire for? And what hard and soft skills do you consider a high priority? So maybe we can circle back to Matthew and start from there.
Yeah. Working on a software team and a software company, we have the goal and mission to decarbonize the built environment and see that this technology is used in many buildings to build strong communities. So that is near and dear to my heart, and one of the reasons why I pursued a position here. Again, very similar to what Samaya said about her company as well, which I really admire. That being said, there are a handful of different roles, not only my role, which is more on the business development side, but we have a product development side, developing the different technologies that are implemented into the software and software platform. Not only, the specifications of these technologies being implemented, but also the code and the underlying, heat transfer and thermocalcs behind these different technologies. Um, the UX, user experience, UI, user interface positions. There are we have, I think we have, a medium-sized company now, so there's various roles within HR, marketing, administration, IT. We have a very strong technical support team that supports all of our users of the software. And yeah, I think that covers a lot of it. And the skills and qualifications for the folks in the technical roles is we have to know heat transfer. We have to know all the energy flows into and out of the building. And yes, we can't know everything. So being able to learn and adapt is very, a very strong skill set that we look for. And also, I'm going to throw in here, I've conducted some interviews before, and I throw this question out there, so I hope our audience can latch on. But I've asked some folks, what are the three forms of heat transfer? And you would be surprised how many people applying, for a heat transfer software don't know no don't know the three forms of heat transfer. So please know that when you go into an interview with your company or with us.
Thank you for sharing that. But yeah, definitely have your fundamentals very clear when you head into interviews, goes without saying. So Maya, do you want to go next?
Yes, thank you, Matthew. I do focus a lot on decarbonization, and I think that's really a very important thing to do, regardless of what type of role you have in the company. So one of the certifications I focus on, which I got early this year, it's one of the new ASHRAE certifications. It's ASHRAE CDP, which is Certified Decarbonization Professional. That really will distinguish you a lot between a lot of people. Decarbonization is a big thing now, and I mean, it has been for a long time, but there is a lot of focus on it. So having the ability to work with clients where you can decarbonize without saying the word decarbonize, because some people are very sensitive to that, and with the terminology that has been evolving in our industry, depends on where you are in the country. Some words you cannot use. So I would say the main thing I look for personally for my company, I'm not hiring at the moment. Like, I work solo at the moment, but I do have a lot of collaboration with different companies. So what I search for in a different company when I'm working with, so like I'll be their sub-consultant or they'll be my sub-consultant. I look at the skill set that I am missing. Like Matthew said, we don't know everything, and that's perfectly fine. So I don't provide, for example, energy modeling in-house, but I would definitely reach out to a company that does provide that. And seeing a BIM certification to me signals a higher caliber of knowledge in energy modeling, because it's not an easy exam to pass. So kudos to you, Kylene, for having it. It really depends on your experience and on your knowledge in the industry. Most ASHRAE exams don't have manuals or guidelines or guidebooks for you to study. They really heavily depend on your experience and expertise in the specific topic from years of experience in different companies. So I look at different certifications that complement the certifications I already have in-house. And for actual skills, what I really look at, I always feel technical knowledge can be taught. And if you're at a certain level in your career or you have a specific degree, there are a lot of fundamentals you should know. The difficult thing would be usually the soft skills, because you are dealing with clients, you're dealing with investors, you're dealing with people who are sensitive to different topics, and you need to be able to convey the message of the work you're doing in a way that is okay for everyone and that everyone is on board. Like, we're all here for the same message, for the same goal, and we would like to accomplish something together, whether it's saving environment or saving having a bigger bank account and saving money at the end of the day. Like, if you talk to someone who's just focused on the operations in a building, they just want to save money, they want to lower their expenses and costs. Some care about the environment, some don't. So you really have to speak to your audience, and that takes a lot of soft skill that you need to develop, and you cannot really teach that. So focus on your soft skills as well. Storytelling is a gift that a lot of people do not have. It comes with experience, but there are so many people who are just good at it. So I focus, like, it's by default, the technical skills have to be there, but anything new and evolving in our industry is, we will learn. I'm a forever learner. I'm always learning something new. I'm always, following or chasing the next best certificate or, initials to put after my name. That's something that's just the nature of our industry. But I cannot teach soft skills. You have to come with your soft skills. So that's just something important to focus on. A lot of people focus just on the technical side and not on the emotional intelligence and soft skills that, need to have.
Thank you. That's a common theme I'm hearing from everyone. I've heard storytelling from all three of you at different points in different responses. So that's a big takeaway for our audiences. Yeah, hone your fundamentals, have your technical skills handy and clearly presented on your resume, but how you present yourself and maybe the examples you use when you interview for these jobs should showcase how your soft skills can contribute, and like how you can contribute using your soft skills to the team you're hoping to join. Kylene, could you go next, please?
Yeah, I can definitely add, like, one of the things we ask anyone who interviews for our building performance team is to have a portfolio of work that they present to us. So we are very much trying to see if they can explain a project that they've done from start to end. And even with students, can be a student academic project. It doesn't have to be something from a professional job. And just seeing how they're able to field questions about the project, how they talked about, their team and what they contributed, like all of that, I think is definitely that storytelling piece that we definitely prioritize when we're hiring. And then maybe so for interface engineering, where I'm at right now, we are mostly an MEP design firm. So most of the positions are MEP design engineer roles, probably looking more at mid and senior level positions right now. And then our building performance team, we have 4 people that serve the whole company, and we're 12 offices, 200 people is our company, just to give you a sense of kind of the scale of my current company. And really, whether we're hiring or not, it's really dependent on like how the company is doing, how the economy is doing. So 2025, a lot of things went on hold. A lot of government projects have been put on hold. So we've kind of been in a lull, but we've been hearing that the backlog is good, that pipeline looks good. And so we are anticipating in 2026 Because I think our team is pretty lean right now, and so we're seeing with more work coming in at the beginning of the new year that we would be looking to hire at least another modeler. And I would guess most of the people on this call may be more entry level. And I will say we've kind of gotten burned a bit. I would be pretty honest about hiring entry level talent at our company. Like in the last few years I've been working here, um, the entry level energy modelers have quit probably like 2 or 3 years in. And so like as a team, that's difficult to manage or work with because, you know, we've invested a lot of hours and time training someone. And so, I mean, our company, our team is really thinking like that's why we want that mid to senior level talent with our next hire. But I don't want to completely discourage anyone with entry level skills. Like, just so you know, like that's probably a barrier that you're up against. So really try to sell yourself on why you like the company, why you really like, why is energy modeling for you? Right, like we don't want to see you go into commissioning. We don't want to see you like we really want to see someone that is dedicated to like building performance and energy modeling, to try to like channel that mentality when you're interviewing to show that you could be loyal and dedicated. I think that's probably something that many consulting companies are dealing with. It's just the people that job hunt, and I job hop, so I'm very much guilty of that too. But try to, you know, establish for an interview like why you are very invested in that company.
Yeah, and I feel like that's also something where, you know, when you say energy modeling, it also includes all the other types of analysis that you mentioned. So it's not that you'd just be doing one type of role. It's that role encompasses a variety of things to begin with. And from my experience with consulting companies, if there's ever a project that interests you as like a person at entry level, there's not really much stopping us from pursuing that and trying to get that type of work to the company as long as it aligns with the overall objective of the team. So that's good advice to not always have a mindset of, you know, let me exit this because I don't like XYZ, but how can there is a opportunity to kind of be committed to building the team up and diversifying as fits within the vision. So yeah, that's a good tip. That can be, I to be honest, like it can be quite challenging for an entry level person to navigate that type of nuance. So definitely there is a bit of a risk on the company's end. And also, you know, we've all experienced this as we work more and more years, our priorities and interests evolve. So it's not always with that intention that people join. But it's good to know that that's something that your company would be looking for in anyone that's being hired whenever you grow the team. That was very insightful. Thank you all. I want to make sure we have enough time for the audience Q&A. We do have a few questions from the audience. So I will just start by reading out the first question we got from Lisa. So Lisa writes, you spoke about the importance, I think this is directed to you, Colleen. You spoke about the importance of AIA and PE credentials. Which PE do you have or recommend for an architect working on sustainable and energy efficiency projects?
Yeah, so I would say the type of PE almost doesn't matter if you're not planning on stamping drawings. Like if you're not going to be a mechanical engineer stamping mechanical, it doesn't matter. Like all the initials that people see is PE. They don't see PE mech or PE electrical, I guess. So do the exam that is easiest for you, that fits your experience and your education the best. I ended up doing the mechanical engineering with the HVAC focus, but I have heard that they have an architectural engineering PE category now or coming up. So maybe that one would be easier. I think I had debated doing the civil one actually, because I did have a minor in civil during college. But then when I like looked back on like my brain, I guess, I was like, no way am I going to be able to take a civil PE exam. And I went with kind of what my work was more aligned with.
Yeah, I have something to add to that as well. So I'm similar to Kylene, where I studied architecture, then my master's was focused more on engineering. And the FE I took was was the general one, was not the mechanical one. And everyone in the company I was working for at the time thought, oh, you're crazy, it's so hard, it's difficult, do the FE for mechanical. And their reasoning was because there are sections that had chemistry in it. I'm good with chemistry. I aced chemistry. That's not my issue. When I looked at the guideline for the mechanical engineering one, there were so many, I'm not a mechanical engineer, and I wasn't at that time. So it really, don't let people convince you to do something that you're not comfortable with. Really read the outline of each exam and see which one you can cover the most topics from your already existing knowledge, and how much you need to study to fill in the gap. You cannot study everything. You need to pass, basically. It's a pass-fail exam. So don't think one is better than the other. As Kylene said, if you don't want to stamp anything, it doesn't really matter. It just shows a level of discipline and knowledge that you achieved to get your PE. And again, unless you want to stamp some documents and drawings in your future career, the type doesn't really matter. I ended taking the general one, and the chemistry section was really easy for me. For them, it was like a nightmare. So again, it depends on what you studied and what you were comfortable with, and which subjects you actually didn't have difficulty with. They're all treated equally, whether it's the chemistry or it's heat transfer. They're all exactly the same. Each question is 1 point, and they are treated equally. So
Perfect. Our next question is also directed to Kylene. How did you prepare for BA MPE, and when do you recommend to start preparing, with which level of experience?
Yeah, so for the ASHRAE BEMP, I studied the way I studied for the FE, PE, and my ARE exams. And I think how you study is really pretty individual to, what type of learner you are. But the way I've always done it is I take the practice exams that are out there. And I usually do pretty poorly when I do those practice exams the first time. And then I just write an outline that literally writes out the responses to like all of those exam questions. So I make sure I have the correct answers, and I just study that. Usually it's just like 1 or 2 practice exams for the test that I have, and that's all I study is just those 2 practice exams. Just being able to not memorize the answers, because that's not going to help you, but just be comfortable with the thought process and how you work out a solution seems to do the trick. And then when you actually get to the exam, the questions are different, but the concepts are the same, and you should still be able to apply kind of how you were able to work through the practice exam problems in real life. And then for the levels of experience, I think I was saying like maybe around 3 years of modeling experience would be what I recommend for the BEMP, but you should really have a pretty fundamental understanding of 90.1 and like your basic equations and conversions, like all of that should be at like the tip of your fingertips, I think, for the BEMP.
Great answer. We do have one more question, and I think that's all we'll have time for. So the question is, what platform and resources would you suggest to early career designers or consultants who are aiming to grow technical knowledge on energy modeling, CFD, or other analysis, especially when there is no direct senior teaching through the work environment? So the example they provided was an architecture design firm where they're working and they want to grow their skill set in those areas, but they don't have a supervisor who's advising them on how to learn that.
So I can take a stab at that. So basically, that was my position, and that's why I mentor a lot. Find yourself a mentor. If you don't have a senior consultant or a senior team member who's directly managing you, you really need to figure out a lot on your own. So my advice would be join a technical organization, whether it's ibpsa, whether it's ASHRAE. Join an organization and be active in that organization. Go to the conferences, go to the local chapter meeting. There is always continuous educational program. Every month there is some kind of webinar or in-person seminar. Be involved, develop your network, and just learn from these resources. And each organization has different way of sharing their knowledge. There are either, links to previous events that you can watch. There are always educational events happening. Really focus on the conferences. I would say that's where you start. Join the organization, and it's very important to be active in it.
Thank you. If I may chime in,
Yeah, I noticed that you had your mic off, so I assumed you were also going to say something.
Yeah. So one of my colleagues, Nathan Kegel, he and some of my other colleagues made a book specifically for people coming into building performance modeling. And if you search IESVE Building Performance Modeling Handbook, or can I link it in the chat?
Yeah, please go for it.
Yeah, let me do that. It is an excellent resource that covers everything from load calcs to CFD, and the dozens of acronyms that are in that are in our industry. So it's a really great resource, and I would encourage you to check that out. And I would like to echo what Samaya said. Having mentors is so nice, and getting involved in different technical organizations that have mentors is great, especially if you don't have them at your company.
Yeah. I can at least speak a little bit to that CFD one, because I think that is a pretty unique type of analysis that I have done like a little bit throughout my career. And early on, I did have like mentorship from like true CFD experts. But then I worked for a company where I was the only person that said I did CFD. So had to kind of figure it out a bit on my own. And I think it depends like what type of degree of technicality you're trying to get with CFD. You can definitely get by with some of the open source tools that are out there through like Grasshopper and the Butterfly engine for CFD. But then if you're probably going to go, I think IS also has CFD capabilities. But if you're trying to get like a true technical, like looking at exhaust airflow and whether it's going to go into like the building intake, like probably more liability related CFD, I would say that's probably not something you can self teach to yourself, and that's probably not something your company wants you to take on. But I think any exposure to reading white papers and looking at YouTube videos, chat forums, all of that exposure can help you become a pretty good CFD, like generalist.
Thank you so much to all three of you for sharing that insight. That was very useful. And the link is also shared in the chat for the link that Matthew shared. So we're almost at time. So I'm going to ask if any of you have a parting thought, like a sentence or two that you would like to share with our attendees for like just tips and tricks, any last takeaways that you feel like you want to share.
Yeah, so I have something to share. So as an introvert and also a shy person, believe it or not, and someone who doesn't like to speak in public, my advice for you is the worst thing that anyone can say to you is no, or not respond to your message. Reach out to people where you would like to be like them at a company. So like I admire XYZ person. I would love to have his position one day. I would like to do what he's doing. Reach out to that person, see what credentials they have on LinkedIn, ask them if it was even worth it or not, what is he or she using in their day-to-day job, and like focus on that. And that's kind of what I did. I kind of carved my own way in what I'm doing now. I would just reach out to random people in the industry that I didn't really meet, and then I ended up meeting them in different conferences, and we became really work friends. And it's just reach out, ask questions, don't be shy. The worst thing that can happen is that people will ignore you. And at the same time, do your homework. Like, don't ask something you can easily Google. Do your homework. Time is really precious. Everyone has very limited free time available, so make sure you're really well prepared when you reach out to person and ask your questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I may add to that, and go to conferences. I'm going to be in LA next week for Green Build, and if any you folks are there, I would love to see you, talk to you. You know, and you feel free to ask me anything about, you know, careers and everything. I think we're at booth 639. So not only technical associations, but conferences and outreach, and getting involved with your local ibpsa chapter, ASHRAE chapters is a great way. Rashmi and I are here in the Madison chapter, or the Wisconsin chapter of ibpsa USA, and we have a lovely community with mentoring, exchange of ideas, and it is a really nice environment that is conducive for growth. So getting involved, and like Samaya said, stepping out of your comfort zone can do wonders.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I would add to try to really sell yourself in this process. Like, it is super competitive. Like, I remember being in college, sending out hundreds of, internship applications, never hearing any responses. It is tough. And so I think sell yourself with your resume. I don't know if people really do cover letters anymore. I don't read them. But really making sure that like your resume looks sharp, looks professional. It's clear and concise on like what your skill set is. I think that is like anything you could try to like get your foot in the door is helpful. And then I would also say like it does get easier like once you do land that first job, like, and you start to build experience, it does, I think, get easier to find other opportunities. And like soon you'll have headhunters reaching out to you every day. Um, like it's really just trying to get that that first like step in the door in the industry is definitely difficult. So anything you can do to try to distinguish yourself will help in that matter.
Yeah, one thing to add to that, make sure you have a sharp resume, like Kylene said. Make sure there are no spelling mistakes. You have no idea how many people will just toss the resume away when they see spelling mistakes. Just do a spell check, make sure everything is written correctly, and then do your homework. If there's an actual person you're reaching out to, you have no many ideas how many times I was called Mr. Theron. So either keep it general or know who you're talking to. And so, yeah, just Google quickly the name of the person you're supposed to meet or you're going to send an email to.
Excellent. That's all really helpful advice. I'm sure all our attendees really appreciate that. Thank you so much, Matthew, Sumaya, and Kylene, for joining us today and taking the time to share your insights. And thank you to all our attendees for joining the 5th Career Advancement webinar. As always, the recording will be made available on YouTube, and we hope you'll consider joining us at future events as well. And please do join EPSI and ibpsa. If you're not an ibpsa member, we appreciate your membership, interest, and participation. So please consider joining. Thank you all, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.